A 7-year-old boy ran into Chicago traffic, while his billionaire father was toasting his perfect fiancée 30 floors above. Snow and rain fell together under the city lights, cold and heavy like shards of glass. In the middle of the rushing cars, a 7-year-old boy, Liam Caldwell, dressed in a tiny tuxedo, darted across the street. Horns blared. Tires screamed. One more second, and it would have been too late. Among the startled crowd, Zara Mitchell, a black nurse just off her night shift, didn't hesitate. She dropped her bag and ran straight into the street, pulling the boy out of harm's way at the very last moment. They both fell hard onto the wet pavement, their breaths mixing with the falling rain. Headlights flickered across her face, calm, strong, and full of compassion. 30 floors above, laughter, crystal, and golden light filled the air. Ethan Caldwell, Chicago's wealthiest man, raised his glass to his flawless fiancée, Celeste Vaughn. No one in that glittering room knew that, at that very moment beneath the storm, a stranger had just saved his son. And perhaps the last piece of his own humanity. Sometimes fate begins with a single act of courage. A woman the world overlooked. And a child who simply needed love. Watch what happens when two worlds that were never meant to meet collide because of one brave second. Zara pulled the boy out of the lane just as a delivery truck roared past, wind whipping her coat. They tumbled onto the wet pavement. The sound of metal and rain filled the street. Blood trickled from a small cut on her arm, but she didn't move away. The child clung to her, shaking. His breath came in sharp sobs. "My daddy's marrying a mean lady," he whispered, voice breaking. "She says my mommy isn't coming back." Zara looked at him, rain streaming down her face. Her heart clenched at the words. She brushed his hair from his eyes, whispering softly, "You're safe now, sweetheart. You're safe." Above them, lightning flashed across the glass walls of Caldwell Tower. Ethan Caldwell stood by the window, champagne still in hand, staring down at the chaos below. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. The small figure in the street, his son. 30 floors apart, two worlds collided. One built on wealth, the other on instinct and compassion. And in that single second, the man who had everything realized he might lose the only thing that mattered, his child's life. Ethan ran through the lobby, his shoes slipping on the marble floor. The doorman shouted after him, but he didn't stop. When the elevator doors opened, he saw them. Zara, sitting on the bench, holding Liam close, both soaked and trembling. Ethan dropped to his knees. "You saved my son." Zara shook her head gently. "You don't need to thank me," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "Just listen to what he's trying to say." Ethan looked at Liam, whose small hands were still gripping Zara's sleeve. The boy's eyes were red from crying, but his breathing was calm now. Security and hotel staff crowded near, but Ethan lifted a hand. Silence filled the lobby except for the sound of rain against the glass. In that stillness, Ethan saw something he hadn't noticed in months. His son leaning into another person's arms without fear. For the first time, Ethan Caldwell felt the weight of everything money could not fix. Ethan Caldwell, 42, head of the Caldwell Hotel Group, a man who built an empire of glass and steel after losing his wife 2 years ago. Behind his sharp suits and calm voice was a father running from grief. Liam Caldwell, 7, quiet, polite, and far too grown for his age. He still sets a place at dinner for a mother who will never come home. Celeste Vaughn, his father's fiancée, admired in magazines for her success and elegance. Her smile perfect, her tone measured, her eyes cold. And Zara Mitchell, the nurse from the South Side. Once a mother, now a woman who carries loss like a scar beneath her uniform. Her son, Micah, died in a fire 2 years earlier. She has not spoken of it since. 4 lives, each shaped by what they've lost, crossing paths in one city night. None of them knew that saving a child would soon unravel everything they thought they understood about love, power, and belonging. The chandelier sparkled above a sea of evening gowns. Cameras flashed. A jazz trio played softly while servers passed glasses of champagne. Celeste stood beside Ethan, her smile polished for every photo. "To the future, Mrs. Caldwell!" Someone cheered. Ethan raised his glass, his lips forming a perfect smile that never reached his eyes. Across the room, Liam sat at a small table, untouched cake melting in front of him. The laughter felt far away, heavy and wrong. Celeste bent down, voice sweet as sugar. "Your real mommy isn't coming back," she whispered, "so try to be a big boy for your father." The boy's hands tightened around his fork. He didn't answer. Ethan turned to shake hands with investors, the champagne fizzing against his throat like guilt. He didn't see his son slip away, didn't notice the tears gathering as Liam disappeared through the side door. Above the music and applause, a silence began, the kind that comes before everything breaks. Liam slipped through the ballroom doors unnoticed. The laughter, the clinking glasses, the music, all faded behind him. His small shoes clicked against the marble hallway, then silence. He pressed the elevator button with trembling hands and rode it down alone. Outside, the city roared with traffic and rain. Cold air hit his face as he ran into the street, tears mixing with snow. Somewhere deep inside, he only wanted to find warmth again, to find someone who felt safe. Upstairs, Ethan realized his son was gone. He searched every room, calling his name. Panic clawed through his chest. Then a scream cut through the night from the street below. "There's a child in traffic!" He rushed to the window. Lightning flashed, revealing a small figure in a tuxedo running between cars. His son. His body froze, powerless behind the glass. Down below, a woman in hospital scrubs darted into the storm. Her arms reached for the boy. Time fractured into fragments of light and sound. In that single flash, Ethan saw everything he'd been blind to. His son's pain, his distance, his failure, and the stranger who ran toward danger without hesitation. The lobby smelled of rain and antiseptic. Zara sat on the floor, her arm around Liam, whispering softly as he clung to her. Ethan burst through the revolving doors, soaked, gasping. The sight stopped him cold. His son, alive, safe, wrapped in the arms of a woman he'd never met. He dropped to his knees. Water pooled around his shoes. Liam reached for him, burying his face in Ethan's coat. Ethan's heartbeat still thundered in his ears. Zara's voice broke the silence. "He just wanted to find someone who understands." Ethan looked at her. Her scrubs were torn, her hair plastered with rain. Yet her eyes were steady, kind. He felt something shift inside, an ache that had been waiting for words. Police lights flashed outside. The chaos of the city continued, but in that lobby, everything slowed. The boy was safe. The woman was real. And Ethan Caldwell's perfect world had just cracked open. Hours later, the penthouse was quiet. Liam slept on the couch, wrapped in a blanket too big for him. Zara stood near the door, ready to leave. Ethan hesitated. His voice was softer than he expected. "He hasn't spoken this much in months. Would you consider staying for a while? Just until he feels safe again." Zara shook her head slightly. "I'm not a nanny, Mr. Caldwell. I'm a nurse." "I know," he said, "but you're the first person he's trusted since his mother died." Behind them, Celeste appeared from the hallway, flawless in silk. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "That's very kind of her," she said smoothly. "But she's just staff, Ethan. I'm sure there are professionals we can hire." Ethan didn't answer. He glanced at Liam, then back at Zara. Sometimes professionalism isn't what a child needs. Zara met his gaze. For the first time in years, Ethan saw honesty unpolished by walls or fear. And something told him his life had just changed direction. The next morning, light poured through tall windows, cold and white. The Caldwell penthouse looked like perfection, orderly, silent, untouched. Yet it felt hollow. Zara arrived early. She moved quietly through the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, humming under her breath. The smell of butter and sugar began to fill the air. Liam peeked from the hallway, eyes wide. "Are you making cookies?" "Yes," Zara smiled, "but not the perfect kind. The messy ones taste better." Soon, flour dusted the counters. Laughter replaced the usual hum of the refrigerator. Liam's giggle echoed against the marble. Ethan stepped in, stopping at the doorway. For the first time, warmth spread through the room that had always felt like a museum. The coffee machine beeped softly. The scent of vanilla lingered in the air. For one fragile morning, the house was alive. The empire could wait. That evening, Zara lit a small candle on the table beside Liam. The flame danced against the glass, soft and steady. "Who do you want to remember tonight?" she asked. Liam thought for a long time. "My mom," he whispered. "She used to sing me the butterfly song." Zara smiled. "Then tell me about her voice." "It sounded warm," he said quietly, "like cookies baking." Ethan stood in the hallway, unseen, his hands shaking slightly. He hadn't heard that song in years. He hadn't let himself. Zara's voice filled the silence again. "When we remember someone with love, they never really go away." Liam nodded, eyes on the flame. "Can we do this every night?" "Yes," she said, "at 7. Always 7. Ethan turned away before they could see his tears. For the first time since his wife's death, grief felt less like a wound and more like a promise to keep love alive. Later that week, Zara sat at the kitchen table while Liam colored beside her. A small wooden box rested near her hands. Ethan entered quietly, drawn by the stillness. Zara opened the lid. Inside were photographs, a small toy car, and a hospital bracelet. "This was my son, Micah," she said softly. "He would have been 8 this year." Ethan didn't speak. He saw the tremor in her hands, the way her voice steadied itself against pain. "There was a fire," she continued. "Our building didn't have working alarms. I was working a night shift. By the time I got home—" She stopped. The silence finished the sentence for her. Liam looked up, wide-eyed. "He liked cars?" Zara nodded. "He loved drawing dragons, too. The kind that were brave, but scared of mice." Ethan felt something twist inside his chest. Loss was a language he finally understood. For the first time, he saw her not as an employee, but as someone who had survived the same darkness that nearly swallowed him. 2 parents, 2 children, 2 worlds. Grief had made them strangers, but that night it began to make them family. The next morning, Ethan canceled 2 meetings without thinking. His assistant called twice. He didn't answer. He was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, helping Liam mix cookie dough. Flour covered the counter, the floor, even the boy's hair. Zara laughed softly, showing Liam how to press the dough into uneven shapes. "They don't have to be perfect," she said, "just made with love." Ethan looked at his son's face, flushed, bright, alive. For so long he had mistaken silence for strength. But here, laughter was the sound of healing. He thought about all the dinners he'd missed, all the moments traded for meetings. And for what? A child who had learned to smile again because someone had taught him it was okay to feel. When Liam held up a misshapen cookie, Ethan smiled. "It's perfect," he said. For the first time in years, he meant it. Money could build towers, but it couldn't fill the emptiness between a father and his son. Celeste arrived at the penthouse unannounced. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. She paused at the doorway, watching Zara and Liam laugh over a board game. "That woman is manipulating him," she said later that evening, her voice low but cutting. Ethan looked up from his laptop. "She's helping him, Celeste. He's eating again. He sleeps through the night." "She's blurring lines," Celeste replied. "He's becoming attached to her. You're allowing a nurse to play mother." Her words landed heavy in the room. Ethan closed the laptop slowly. "He lost his mother," he said. "If someone can make him feel safe again, I won't take that away." Celeste's smile thinned. "You're being sentimental. You don't know this woman's intentions." But Ethan had seen the way Zara listened to Liam, the patience in her voice, the warmth that didn't come from obligation. Celeste turned toward the window, her reflection sharp against the city lights. "Be careful, Ethan," she murmured. "Empathy makes people weak." He said nothing, but for the first time he wondered if strength had ever meant keeping people out, or finally letting them in. 2 weeks later, Celeste arrived with a thin smile and a folder in her hands. "You should see this," she said. Ethan opened it. Inside were photographs. Zara and Liam walking through a rundown neighborhood, children playing in cracked courtyards, Zara carrying grocery bags. "She's been taking him to these places," Celeste continued. "Dangerous areas. She calls it community work. I call it poor judgment." Ethan studied the photos. In one, Liam was laughing beside an elderly man. In another, he was handing out food with a wide grin. "She's teaching him to feel guilty for being rich," Celeste said sharply. "That's not healthy. You've worked too hard to give him this life." Ethan didn't respond. The images didn't look dangerous. They looked real. Still, doubt settled like dust. Celeste placed a manicured hand on his arm. "She's not who you think she is, Ethan. Don't let her turn your son against his own future." He looked down at the photos again. In every one, his son looked happy, free in a way money had never made him. The next afternoon, Ethan drove to the address from the photos. "Harbor House Community Center," the sign read. The building was small, paint peeling, but music drifted through an open door. Inside, children laughed. Volunteers served lunch to a line of elderly residents. And there, in the corner, was Liam, reading to an old man with a smile that reached his eyes. Zara knelt beside another child, helping tie his shoes. She looked up and saw Ethan. Their eyes met, and she nodded once. No guilt, no apology, just quiet honesty. A woman at the front desk greeted him. "You must be Liam's father. He's wonderful. Everyone here adores him." Ethan turned to the wall of photos. Liam playing games, handing out drawings, hugging strangers. For the first time, Ethan understood. Zara wasn't teaching his son to be ashamed of wealth. She was teaching him how to use it to bring joy. In that modest building, Ethan Caldwell found what all his hotels had never held: real warmth, real connection, and the faint sound of his son's laughter filling the air. Ethan lingered at this community center, uncertain why he couldn't leave. A volunteer, Mrs. Chen, noticed him studying the photos on the wall. "You're Liam's father, aren't you?" she asked warmly. He nodded. "He's a remarkable boy, so thoughtful. Last week he told one of our seniors, 'I want to help people like my dad does, just in a different way.'" Ethan froze. The words landed deep. His son didn't see charity as guilt. He saw it as gratitude. "He's proud of you," Mrs. Chen continued. "He talks about how hard you work. He just wants to use that same strength to help others." Ethan looked through the window toward the playground. Liam was laughing as he pushed an elderly man's wheelchair across the path, Zara walking beside him. Every trace of doubt evaporated. Zara hadn't used his son. She had helped him remember joy. As he stood there, Ethan realized something simple but overwhelming. She wasn't teaching Liam to feel small. She was teaching him to see the world with open eyes. And maybe, for the first time, he was learning too. That evening, Celeste waited in his office, arms crossed, expression sharp. "You went to that place," she said. "The community center." Ethan took off his coat. "Yes, I needed to see for myself." Her jaw tightened. "And what did you see? A woman using her grief to control you?" Ethan met her eyes, calm but steady. "I saw children being fed. I saw my son laughing. She's dangerous, Ethan. She's using your sympathy. You're letting her replace Sarah in his mind, and maybe in yours." He exhaled slowly. "You don't understand, Celeste." "No," she said coldly. "You don't. I built a life with you, one based on order and reputation, and you're throwing it away for a woman who doesn't belong in our world." Silence stretched between them. Ethan's voice dropped. "Maybe our world isn't the one that deserves to last." For the first time, Celeste's confidence wavered. In his eyes, she saw something she couldn't fight: conviction. The next morning, Celeste found Liam in the living room, sitting on the floor with Zara's wooden box open before him. "What are you doing with that?" she asked, her tone clipped. She let me hold it, Liam said softly. It has pictures of Micah, her son. Celeste frowned. That's private, Liam. You shouldn't touch other people's things. She said it's okay, he replied. She said it helps her remember. Celeste crouched down, voice honeyed but sharp. You need to be careful, sweetheart. Sometimes people use sad stories to make us feel sorry for them. Liam looked up, unafraid. She doesn't make me sad. She makes me kind. What do you mean? She said being rich doesn't make you better. Being kind does. The air between them froze. Celeste's practiced smile faltered. Before she could answer, Ethan stepped into the doorway, having heard every word. His gaze moved from his son to Celeste, quiet and fierce. For the first time, he saw the truth without disguise. Celeste straightened, regaining her tone. Ethan, please tell him this woman is confusing him. Liam looked at her steadily. You don't like her. Why? That's not true, Celeste said quickly. He studied her face the way adults do when they already know the answer. Is it because she's black? The question hung in the air like a lightning strike. Celeste froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Ethan felt the ground shift beneath him. It's not about color, she managed finally. It's about compatibility. Ethan's voice was calm but sharp. Compatibility? With compassion? With courage? Celeste turned away, her face pale. You're twisting my words. No, Ethan said. Our son just untwisted them. Liam stood quietly, holding the wooden box against his chest. Zara wasn't there, but her presence filled the room. For the first time, Celeste saw that the boy no longer feared her, and that Ethan no longer believed her. The penthouse was silent. Celeste stood near the window, staring at the skyline. Ethan spoke first. Maybe the values she's teaching him, empathy, courage, kindness, are the ones I should have taught all along. Celeste turned, disbelief on her face. You can't be serious. That woman has turned you into someone else. Maybe, he said quietly. Maybe that's a good thing. Her voice sharpened. I have connections, Ethan. I built your image. You'll regret walking away. He met her eyes. I'd regret staying more. Celeste stared at him, searching for weakness and finding none. Her control was gone. She grabbed her purse, every movement precise, rehearsed. When you come to your senses, I won't be waiting. The elevator doors closed behind her. Ethan stood still for a long time, the city lights flickering across the floor. Then he looked toward Liam's room, where a soft laugh echoed. Light, alive, real. For the first time, Ethan Caldwell had chosen love over legacy. And it felt like freedom. Weeks passed quietly. The penthouse no longer echoed with silence. Laughter filled the kitchen. The faint smell of cookies lingered in the halls, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt something close to peace. Yet, when the house was still and the city lights faded into night, questions crept in. He would sit by the window, watching Liam draw beside Zara, and wonder if love could truly cross worlds built so far apart. Zara was gentle, but cautious. She knew the difference between belonging and being temporary. Ethan saw it in her eyes, the fear of being needed only until the pain faded. He wanted to say what his heart already knew, but the right words never came. Outside, winter gathered at the edge of the skyline. The city's wind turned sharp. The air felt different, heavy, like the moment before thunder. Ethan told himself everything was fine, but deep down he sensed what peace often hides. A storm waiting for its hour. Dr. Hammond, the family counselor, suggested time apart. It might help Liam rebuild independence, she said. A few days away could reset boundaries. Ethan hesitated. Zara looked uncertain, but she agreed. If it helps him heal, she said softly, I'll wait. They drove north to the Caldwell Lodge in Vermont, a vast wooden estate surrounded by quiet forests and frozen lakes. Snow covered everything, untouched and pure. Liam stared out the window the whole drive, holding the small wooden box Zara had given him. He said little, only asking once, Will she be there when we come back? Ethan's throat tightened. "Of course," he said, but doubt pressed against the promise. That night, a storm warning blared over the radio. Winds howled through the trees. Celeste, who had joined them under the guise of helping, dismissed the danger. "It's just snow," she said. "He'll adjust." Outside, clouds thickened. The first flakes began to fall. The storm had found them. By midnight, the power flickered, then died. The generator hummed weakly. Snow pressed against the windows in thick, white waves. Ethan checked on Liam's room, empty. Panic gripped him. The back door was open, snow blown across the floor, and his son's small footprints led into the storm. "Call for help," he told Celeste, grabbing his coat. She caught his arm. "You'll get lost too." "I already am," he said, and ran into the night. Wind cut through his jacket. He shouted Liam's name, but the blizzard swallowed his voice. The cold burned his lungs. His flashlight flickered, revealing nothing but white. He stumbled over roots, followed faint tracks until they disappeared. His body trembled from exhaustion. Then, faintly, he heard crying. Somewhere ahead, through the wall of snow, a small voice called for help. Ethan pushed forward, blinded and shaking. His boots sank deep, his breath shallow. Then he saw it, a dim, flickering light through the trees. A campfire. He stumbled toward it, praying he wasn't too late. The flames crackled weakly against the snow. Beside it, Zara held Liam wrapped in a silver blanket, her arms shielding him from the wind. Ethan dropped to his knees, disbelief and relief crashing together. How did you find him?" Zara looked up, face pale with cold. "He called me, said he wanted to come home." Ethan's breath caught. "You drove through the storm?" "I couldn't not," she said simply. Liam stirred, opening his eyes. "I tried to walk back to Chicago," he murmured, "to find you." Ethan's heart broke and healed in the same instant. He pulled his son close, feeling warmth return to his hands for the first time. They sat together in silence, the fire reflecting in their eyes. Zara's hand trembled slightly as she checked Liam's pulse. Ethan covered it with his own. "Thank you," he whispered. The blizzard howled around them, but for that moment, the world was still, a circle of light in endless white. By morning, the storm had eased. They returned to the lodge, exhausted but alive. Celeste waited by the fireplace, arms folded, fury etched on her face. "This is absurd," she snapped. "He risked his life just to get what he wanted. You can't keep letting her interfere." Ethan looked at Liam sleeping by the fire, Zara kneeling beside him. "He nearly died because we ignored what mattered," he said quietly. "Because we forgot what love sounds like." Celeste's voice rose. "You'll regret choosing her." He turned to her, calm but resolute. "No, I regret not choosing sooner." Her mouth tightened. "You're destroying everything you've built." Ethan's gaze softened. "Maybe everything I built wasn't worth keeping if it cost me my son." Silence filled the room. The fire popped, sending a small spark into the air. Celeste gathered her coat, eyes cold. "You'll be sorry, Ethan." But as the door closed behind her, Ethan felt only peace. The storm outside had passed. Inside, the right one finally had too. That night, the house was quiet. Liam slept soundly for the first time in days, his small hand resting on Zara's wooden box. Ethan and Zara sat in the kitchen, the fire low, the air heavy with unspoken truth. "There's something I never told you," Zara began. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "That night, when I saw Liam running into traffic, I wasn't just walking home, I was walking to end my pain." Ethan froze. "I had lost Micah, and I didn't know how to live anymore," she said softly. "But then I saw that little boy, and something in me, something I thought was gone, came back. Saving him. It saved me." Tears filled Ethan's eyes. "You didn't just save him, Zara," he whispered. "You saved both of us." For a long moment, they said nothing. Only the fire spoke, crackling gently, as if acknowledging what words couldn't. Outside, the last snow drifted from the roof, melting in the warmth that finally filled the home. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows. The storm had cleared, leaving the city bright and still. Ethan stood by the dining table watching Zara pour coffee. "Stay," he said quietly. "Not as an employee, but as family." She froze, unsure she'd heard correctly. "Ethan, I mean it," he said, meeting her eyes. "You and Liam belong here. You always did." Liam came running into the room, clutching a drawing. "Look," he said proudly. The picture showed 4 figures: Ethan, Zara, Liam, and a small boy in the sky, Micah, smiling down at them. Zara covered her mouth, tears brimming. Ethan crouched beside his son, tracing the tiny angel in crayon blue. "That's our family," Liam said. "All of us, even the ones we can't see." Ethan nodded. "Yes," he whispered. "All of us." And in that moment, grief finally became something beautiful, something whole. News broke a month later. A video surfaced of Celeste at a private charity event, speaking carelessly about people from the wrong side of Chicago. The clip went viral within hours. Her company issued statements. Sponsors withdrew. By morning, her empire had collapsed under the weight of her own words. Ethan saw the headline and felt no triumph, only quiet sadness. When reporters called, he offered no comment, just a single statement through his office. "May she learn what love truly means." He meant it. That evening, Zara found him on the balcony, watching the city below. "You could have ruined her completely," she said softly. "I don't need to," he replied. "Life already showed her what matters most, and what she never understood." Zara reached for his hand. He didn't flinch this time. Some justice isn't about punishment. It's about clarity, the kind that sets everyone free. Spring arrived with color. The Caldwell penthouse no longer felt like glass and marble. It felt alive. Zara's wooden box now sat open on a shelf beside new framed photos. Liam's laughter echoed through the halls. Ethan made an announcement one morning over breakfast. "I want to start a foundation," he said, "to help children who've lost someone, to turn pain into purpose." Liam grinned. "Can we name it after Micah?" Zara's eyes filled. "Micah's promise," she whispered. Within months, the foundation was real, a network of counselors, art programs, and small lights of hope for grieving families. The penthouse became their center. Its cold walls now carried crayon drawings, the smell of cookies, and the sound of healing. Money no longer measured Ethan's success. Love did. And for the first time, he knew exactly what kind of empire he wanted to build. A year later, the Caldwell home was no longer a tower of silence. It was filled with warmth, with laughter, with the quiet peace that follows long storms. Ethan, Zara, and Liam kept a simple tradition. Every spring, they lit 3 candles, one for Sarah, one for Micah, and one for the family that love had rebuilt. The ritual was never grand, but it carried the weight of everything they had survived. Ethan often thought about how it all began. One act of courage, a single moment when a stranger chose compassion over fear. That choice had changed everything. He no longer measured life by profit or prestige. He measured it by how deeply he could love, how much good he could pass forward, and in that quiet understanding, he found peace. In the end, Ethan realized the greatest inheritance isn't wealth or success, it's love that multiplies when it's shared. Because home isn't a place made of walls and glass. It's the people who see you, stay beside you, and make you believe again. If this story moved your heart, share it with someone who needs hope. Because sometimes, the smallest act of love can change an entire life.